So, if you've been on Facebook lately, I'm sure you've come across some type of article about how to be happier, what happy people do differently. And it's usually a list of things like, practice gratitude, be nice to everyone, always forgive, never judge, and things like this. And that's true. Happy people do all those things. But the problem with reading these lists is that when you're not a happy person to begin with, or you're somebody experiencing a lot of stress and anxiety, you view these things as like practices that you can implement into your life in order to not feel the anxiety or stress that you normally do as like a coping mechanism. And if you implement any of these behaviors in order to combat something else that's going on in your life, you might as well just smoke a cigarette or have an orgasm or have a drink or whatever the other thing is that you like to do to reduce your stress, because all of these things, including the ones that sound healthy, are not sustainable. These are not going to make you a happy person. They might make you feel better in the moment, but starting a gratitude practice, it's going to feel good while you're doing it, but it's not necessarily going to change your life. The things that you feel grateful for in your life have absolutely nothing to do with the reason you're stressed and anxious in the first place. And I'm not talking about the things you're stressed and anxious about. I'm talking about the reason why you're stressed and anxious. And the reason why you're stressed and anxious is because you still think that life is subjective. You place a lot of importance on your own perspective, and anything that can get in the way of validating your perspective, you look for blame or some way to combat it, because we covet our own perspectives. That's a thing, I don't know when it started, but it's like especially Western. We think that our life, our subjective well-being is the most important thing. That's what life is, right? Actually, there's a lot more information beyond our actual perspective that is also real. And understanding that concept is exactly the thing that creates a foundation for true happiness. So all of the things that come with it, being able to forgive easily, being able to be grateful for everything that you have in any situation, being able to just naturally feel good all the time, not have stress, clear your head really easily. These are things that are byproducts of clearly understanding of what's going on around you. And you can do that by not learning anything new. It's just about changing the way you think. So step one, I would say, this is how I learned how to do this. And you see on my website, I have a formula for happiness called, I call it Remind. But doing the formula, it takes a little bit of practice in some other areas before you can actually start doing it correctly. So one of these things that you can start practicing now is noticing the labels that you put on things. For example, adjectives that you use to describe people and sets of their behaviors. So anytime you're, you're talking to somebody or even thinking throughout the day, and you're using a word to describe someone, if it's like, oh, they're funny, they're interesting, they're narcissistic or lazy or incompetent or anything that you would use to describe anyone throughout any given day, just notice that you're using words. You don't need to change. Just noticing that you're using these descriptive words, and understand that each of these words is a replacement for a set of actual behaviors that this person has actually done. So you're just taking a shortcut in your mind by using the word to describe a set of behaviors, but try to think about what those behaviors actually are, because you're going to get yourself into the habit of naturally, automatically thinking in terms of multiple pieces of information rather than one label on those things. And it's just a way of, it's kind of a less it sounds like a lot more work, but you get used to it, right? It's a kind of a less lazy way to think about things, right? You think about more things at the same time, but it's not any new information. It's stuff you already know. So practice that, right? Anytime you think of a label, or you notice yourself using a label, if you can, write it down. That actually speeds up the process. Write it down, and if you have a minute, just write down all the things that the person did that make you think that they are awesome, or whatever it is. So that's step one, labels, and you're laying the foundation to sharpen your emotional skills, so that you can have clarity and be able to start thinking objectively about life, which leads to all those great things that you see on those lists. They're not hacks. They're byproducts of actual happiness. All right, so you can subscribe to these videos. I'm going to start doing them every week. They're called the Weekly Remind. Cool name, right? If you have any other suggestions, let me know. Yeah, so they're just kind of to get everyone familiar with what's going on at re-mind.us. Because I really would like to be able to teach as many people as possible this formula that I use to train myself to be happier. It's really seems miraculous. For anyone who knows me, you know that my life's changed a lot over the last couple of years, and it's from using this formula. But like I said, it gets a little complicated when you're not sort of at the place where you're ready to start using it. So stay in touch, stay tuned. If you have any questions, reach out. I'm around. Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.